when you get your wallet and you've punched all your holes in, the best thing to do first of all is take a pair of like miniature pliers or some scissors or something and just nip off the corners like that, just so that when you do your corners they round off a little bit better.
Yep.
Might do it with a pair of scissors. Just a little bit. Okay, that'll make life a little bit easier for doing that. The next thing you need to do is get your needle and your lacing. There's a shiny side and a dull side.
Mm-hmm.
You need the shiny side facing you, and you need the needle. And what you'll do when you open up the back of the needle, you'll actually see there's actually two little prongs in there.
Yep.
So the idea is that you put the needle, sorry, the lacing into that space. So that the lacing runs directly in line with the back of the needle.
Okay.
Then...
And that's the rough side down?
Yeah. So, and then when you squeeze it, I just squeezed it with the pliers.
Mm-hmm. It stays there firmly.
It stays in there. Okay. And it's got to be in line. If you have it coming out the side, it's not going to go through the holes. The next thing you do is take your wallet and you find the bottom of the wallet at the back. So when you fold the leather wallet up, the back section in here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And it's a little tricky to start with until you get the idea, but once you get going, you're okay. I'll actually start a little bit closer to the corner. But I would start back here, but just for this purpose I'm doing it a bit close to the corner.
Yep.
So pull the leather down through the hole and away from you, and you've got to make sure that you don't get a big knot in it. Okay, so pull this through. Now, when you're starting it, I find the best way to start it, because you've got to lock it off, you don't want it to fall out. So I put that across like that, and then you bring the leather back over the top and always have the shiny side facing you, and you're always threading the needle towards the ground. You never thread it back towards you.
Okay, yep.
So,
and you have to keep pulling it back
through
your fingers so it's nice and straight.
So it's nice and straight. So now I'm going to go through the new hole, another hole. This is just for the starting off process. And you'll have to develop your own technique, but I always hold it like this because then I can run the leather through my fingers, and also when I get to the end I can see if it's twisted or not before I pull it tight.
Okay, yep.
Okay, so now I'll just pull it back through my fingers again with the shiny side facing me. You notice I've always got the wallet facing up. Okay, now I'm going to go through there, between those two stitches and out the back here. This is just to lock it off.
So just through the edge bit?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Now, it's this is not the normal stitch. Just when you get going.
Straightening that up again there. Yep.
Now I'm just starting to form across. Now every time you pull this lacing across to go through the next hole, what you do is you're forming a cross. Okay, so that's an important feature you need to remember. So I've got that, pulling this back. Once I've done 3 or 4 stitches, you'll start to see the pattern forming. Okay, so through the hole, then down.
So always down with the hole?
Always down.
Yep. And through the fingers, so it's over your
twisted,
finger.
so it's given me an opportunity to straighten that out. Okay, now as I pull that down, you can see there's a new cross.
Right, yes. Yep.
Right, so now back over the finger again. As you get further around the wallet, the lacing gets shorter, and obviously it gets quicker, and you get
You don't have to fling it through so much.
But by then you've got big biceps.
Yep.
So now we've gone through the hole. We've now got to go under the cross.
Okay.
Okay. So what we do is we go between these two last stitches,
Yep.
underneath that piece of lacing there wouldn't normally be there.
There, yep.
You can see underneath
Oh,
the
so you're going
cross
through the whole
and then
cross.
out between the last
Okay.
two stitches.
Yes.
So between the first two stitches, directly under the centre of the cross and out between the last two stitches. Now a common mistake is to pull it through here, but the problem is then you end up with a big knot. So you've got to make sure that you push that out of the way
Right.
and pull it down. Untwist it. Okay, so move that out of the way for a minute. Okay, so now we're going to form a new cross by pulling that over the top.
So we're now starting the new stitch.
So we now are starting a new stitch. So there's two parts to the stitch. There's the hole and then there's going under the cross. Oops. Okay, so we've got the needle, so we threw the hole.
Put your finger between the thread there so it'll come back around the finger.
Yep. So I'm just running it underneath my thumb. Okay, just untwist it. I now form a new cross. Now we do again. So I'm going to go between these two stitches,
Okay.
underneath the cross, and directly underneath the centre of the cross. Can you see that?
Yes, yep.
Right, so directly underneath the centre of the cross and out between the last two stitches.
And untwist and then pulled
So
firm.
now you can now start to see the braiding pattern. So when
Yes,
I pull
yep.
that across there, now
That'll be the next stitch.
That's the next stitch. Now this is the tricky bit.
Oh, we're into the corner.
We're into
Yep.
the corner. Now
Now, has he
This-
done the bigger hole in the corner or
no,
not?
what you should do is when you're punching, the second smallest for everything,
Yep.
apart from the four corners, should be the second largest hole.
Yep.
But you can manage it with the smallest hole as well.
Okay.
It's a little bit more difficult to get the lacing through. The other thing is you've got to make sure that your hole is directly in the corner.
In the corner works
This
a lot
one's-
better.
This one's not, but we should be able to do it. Okay, so we'll pull it through the hole. I think you're getting
Untwist.
the idea of hole, cross, hole, cross, hole, cross.
Yep.
So, cross, we've created a cross, so we pull it back through, go through the same process. Whoops. If you're sitting near somebody, just make sure you don't flick them in the eye with
In
the
there
needle.
with the needle. Yep.
Okay, so between the two stitches, under the cross, out between the last two stitches. You notice I'm not including this stitch here because it's not a full stitch.
Stitch yet.
So directly underneath
So when
the
you go
cross.
under there, is it which side is facing up of the leather? The rough side is actually facing up.
Yeah, because it's
Yes.
because
that's
you're
going to
that way.
be smooth on the
Yes,
top. Yep.
but, yeah. But it's always the smooth side showing,
Yep.
once your stitch is completed. Okay, so there. Now, because we're at the corner, what we do is we've got to go through the same hole
Right, for the next stitch.
3 times.
Okay, yes.
But we go through a new cross because every time you pull the lacing across to go through the hole,
You make a new cross.
make a new cross. So the idea is you're actually creating a fan shape.
Okay, yep.
Okay. So here we go again. Sounds very boring and very.
And it's back in the same hole this
It's
time.
back in the same hole.
Hole, yep.
This gets very therapeutic after a
Yes. Very rhythmic.
while. Very rhythmic. And once you get once you know what you're doing, you pick up mistakes pretty easily. And it's quite addictive actually, just sitting here doing this. So So we've gone through the hole.
Hole.
You can see it looks pretty cramped there, but, so we're going to have to go between those two bits of leather. Actually, what I might do is just snip this off a little bit more
Yep.
than normal, because that will give me a bit better
Corner to go. Yep.
Okay, so, but if your holes are directly in the corner like that one,
You can
it
just
won't
do a
be-
little
it
corner.
won't be so much. Okay, so we've gone through the hole for the second time. So now we're going to go through between these two stitches,
Yep.
underneath the cross,
Okay, the most recent
out.
cross there.
and out through the hole. Out through the back two stitches, sorry. Okay, pull it again, down again. You can start to see the stitches are starting to come around the
Round
corner.
yep.
Now, because this is such a big stitch, we'll put another one in, the third one in, and then we'll see what's happening. So through the hole, you can see it's getting a bit tight because it's a small
Hole,
punch.
yes, yep. I might get him to make a bigger hole in those ones on the next corner.
But it's going through okay, it's just a bit tight.
And if everything goes through straight, the needle shouldn't break or anything, should
No,
it? Because
not
it's
at all.
going through smoothly.
Okay, so you can see it's coming around the
Around
corner,
the corner,
now.
yep.
So now we've got to go through the cross again. Okay, so between the last two stitches, under the cross, out between the last two stitches. Okay, so you're now starting to go around the corner. Now, the next one would be the next hole. So we'll do that.
You might have to have 2 in it or 3 in it too
We'll
as
have
well.
a look.
Yeah.
Normally you wouldn't. Okay, so I'm pulling that through. So down through the hole. So we've gone through that corner hole 3 times. Now it should be hole, cross, hole, cross, hole, cross until you get to the next corner.
On it right, okay.
So hole. So through the cross, so between the last 2 stitches, under the cross, through the last 2 stitches. Oops. Okay, so now you can see we're pulling another cross here, and you can see it's
Around.
gone around the corner.
There we go.
So I'll just do 1 or 2 more stitches,
Stitches,
just so
yep.
you get this. You can see the flow of the
Stitches coming
stitches
around.
are going around the corner, and then it's pretty much up to you guys.
Yep.
So through the hole. Just unswitch it. Through the hole. Create a new cross.
Cross.
So now we go back again. Through the cross.
So now if
Between the
people's leather has snapped off, that's because they were twisting it too much and pulling it through twisted, more than likely.
Yeah, but it would take a lot of force to break it. This is kangaroo skin. Okay, so now, yes, because that corner was not quite in the corner,
Yeah.
the hole wasn't quite in the corner, you sort of got that bigger radius, but
Yep.
normally a little bit smaller. But there's no reason why this student couldn't do the same thing on the 4
On
corners
all the corners to make it look balanced.
make it look a
Yep.
bit more balanced, yeah. So, one more time, through the hole. Now, if you're working on this pretty much constantly, and you don't make too many mistakes, it should take you a couple of hours to go around the whole
Whole
wallet.
thing, right? Yep.
Now, I'll just finish this stitch and then I'll explain what to do when you're finishing it off. So between the stitches, under the cross, ooh, out between those two stitches. All right. Okay, so we've done that. Now you can see the braiding pattern. You can see how it's fanned around the corner because of these 3 stitches in the one hole. And that pattern should continue. If you keep pulling it tighter and tighter and tighter, the lacing will actually get thinner and thinner, and then your stitching will look uneven towards
right.
the end.
So your
just
tension has to be the same.
Try and keep the tension exactly the same. Otherwise, yeah, your lacing does tend to stretch a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, there is 8 times around the perimeter of this wallet in lacing that's been cut, so you should have more than enough. You probably should have about 300 or 400 millimetres of lacing left at the
over.
end.
Okay.
If you don't, for some reason, it can be joined. And if that's the case, come and see me rather than me doing an extra long video.
Yes. Yep.
I'll show you exactly how to do that. But it's not that difficult. It's just takes a little bit of work. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Now, when you get back to you keep going round, and when you get back to the start, what you end up having to do when you get to about, say, half a dozen stitches before the end, you've got to unpick about
tail?
about 3 stitches here.
Oh, okay. Right.
Okay. Now, because this stitch here is actually going that way, it's a little bit awkward to undo, but you can do it. If you've got to pull this one back out, and then what you'll do is you'll lay that piece of leather along the top here, and you'll stitch over it.
Right. Okay. Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And then there's a finishing off process, which again I might actually make another video of that.
Yes.
Because it's a little bit awkward.
Okay.
It's the same process. It's just knowing where to put your needle through so that you can't see the join.
Yep.
Okay.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Monk.
Pleasure.